Aside from those holding illicit and stolen naira in their homes for speculative purpose, we do aim to give all Nigerians that have naira legitimately earned and trapped the opportunity to deposit their legitimately trapped monies at the CBN for exchange. Based on the foregoing, we have today sought and obtained Mr. President's approval for the following. 1. A 10-day extension of the deadline from January 31, 2023 to February 10, 2023 to allow for collection of more old notes legitimately held by Nigerians and achieve more success in cash swap in our rural areas, in our villages and communities, after which all old notes outside the CBN loses their legal tender status. Our CBN staff, currently on mass mobilization and monitoring, together with officials of the EFCC and ICPC, will work together to achieve these objectives in the coming days. 2. A 7-day grace period beginning on February 10 to February 17, 2023, in compliance with Section 20, subsection 3 and Section 22 of the CBN Act, allowing Nigerians to deposit their old notes at the CBN after the February deadline, when the old currency would have lost its legal tender status. As at October 2022, currency in circulation had risen to 3.23 trillion naira, out of which only 500 billion was within the banking industry, and 2.7 trillion held permanently in people's homes. Ordinarily, when CBN releases currency into circulation, it is meant to be used, and after a friction of time, it returns to the CBN, thereby keeping the volume of currency in circulation under the firm control of the CBN. So far, and since the commencement of this program, we have collected about 1.9 trillion naira, leaving us with about 900 billion to 1 trillion naira, and 1 trillion naira to be collected.
How have you been handling the issues around new naira notes? Some people can't wait to get rid of the old ones. Fear that, hey, something is going to happen and they won't be able to spend the money anymore. But then now we have an extension of 10 days and another grace period of 7 days, perhaps making 17 in all. Well, that and a number of other issues we'll look at this morning with Professor Ekpo, who is a professor of economics and public policy. He joins us from Lekki. Thanks for joining us this morning, Prof.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Well, I don't know if it's okay to say this must have come to you as some kind of mixed feelings, root shock, the whole idea, the timeliness and everything. What's your general assessment of this whole melee about the new naira notes, the deadlines, the extension and all?
Thank you very much. There's nothing absolutely wrong in redesigning the naira note. Countries do it for several reasons. So there's nothing wrong, and the CBN has the right to do that. In order to maybe fight corruption, try to reduce inflation, have a handle of money supply and currency management. So there's nothing wrong with that. And then a lot of times we do that to be ahead of counterfeiters. You put new security features in new currency. Okay, so nothing absolutely wrong. Of course, there are issues in terms of whether what they've done will actually curb inflation. That's an issue, because our inflation is not really a demand issue. It's more of a structural problem and cost push. But having said that, the CBN gave a deadline, and they gave a deadline which people complain about that is not good enough. They wanted an extension. And for me, the central bank exists for Nigerian people. So at least they have listened to the pressures, to the cries of people, of Nigerians, and they've extended the deadline to February 10, I think. And after that, a 7 days grace period, whereby you can now deposit the money with the central bank. I hope they mean central bank via commercial banks, because central banks' offices are located in state capitals. I don't say people will walk around from where they are to go to the central bank and deposit the old notes. But at least they will listen to the cries of the people, and I've given an extension. And central bank also realized that the extension realized that once central bank issues a legal tender, is binding in the sense that on each, if you look at our notes, you never find an expiration date. So it's a liability to the central bank. But they've said that after the grace period, you can still go to CBN and deposit your old notes. But they haven't said that it's their liability. And so to say that it is illegal by just declaration, it may have to go more than that and make it maybe like a memo or like make it a little bit much more like a legal issue, in the sense that after that date it becomes illegal, because once the CBN issues a legal tender, it's a liability to the bank. Okay, so there's nothing wrong. What should have been done, in my view, also is to raise awareness of Nigerians, especially those in the rural areas who are heavily unbanked, who are not that. Most of them are not part of the banking system. They should raise awareness. Right now, we are going to understand that in the market, people are even rejecting the old notes before the deadline.
Well, Prof,
yes.
just one moment. We'll come back to the awareness, because there are several people who consider it a huge part of the whole conversation. But, you know,
yes,
talking about the entire spectrum of the conversation, of the issue, as you have mentioned, there are those who are still wondering about the legality or otherwise of this extension. There are those who are asking questions around one thing or the other. We, of course, are aware that the House of Representatives has said, look, as far as they are concerned, the extension is a smokescreen, but as far as they are concerned, they want the CBN governor to be asked and answer so many other questions than that, you know, than has already been asked. So what is your take on that, especially coming from the House of Representatives, which is saying that, look, this whole thing, no, we don't buy it, we want more. The new Naira notes, according to them, this House of Representatives has rejected the 10-day extension granted by the CBN for the exchange of the notes. And they say that, as far as they're concerned, the 10-day exchange for the exchange of the old notes is not the solution, and they want the CBN to abide by the principle of rule of law. Is there anything, in your opinion, that the CBN has done that contravenes the law?
In my opinion, the CBN has not done anything that contradicts the law, because the law itself does not say that the extension should be indefinite. But I think I would not want to reject the 10 days and the 7 days grace period. I think what the governor of CBN should do is to go to the House and let them have a discussion and discuss, closed door. Because matters of CBN and other important banking or finance issues, you do it at closed door before you go to the public. So I think the CBN governor should try and honor House invitation so they can discuss.
Well, you raised issues earlier about the duration that the CBN has given for this whole Naira exchange. You talked about awareness. I've experienced this, you know, transition from one currency to one currency notes or tenders to the other in the little while that I have spent time on this earth. But I'm just wondering, how long do you think the whole conversation should have taken? There are those who are wondering the short time of, say, 3 months that the CBN gave initially wasn't enough.
The time is short. It may be short, but again, how short is short? You want to give it 1 year? what they do in advanced countries is that you will announce way ahead of time that you're going to redesign the currency. You announce it even a year or so, and then people become ready for it. But I think in our own, given the nature of our economy and the fact that we're having elections in February, maybe it will be difficult to extend indefinitely. But as I was suggesting, the CBN governor needs to go to the House, and I'm sure he has reasons for not going, but he should go to the House and then have a discussion and come to an agreement.
Yeah.
But within the law that I understand, maybe you don't know this, I was a member of the CBN board for years. They've not done anything wrong legally, but see, a law is law. But when you implement certain conditions, certain issues, I would suggest that there's need for the CBN governor and the House to discuss. And the House not just ab initio says we reject the extension, because by doing so, it sends a wrong signal to those who are watching our economy, especially at this time when the economy is at its lowest ebb.
Well, Prof, you said that, when you asked the question, how short is short, you also alluded to the fact that the information ought to have come out a longer time, which is the history that we have. People are well aware that there's going to be a currency exchange, currency change. For quite a long time, the designs are put out, the colors and everything are put out for people to know that this is what is going to become a legal tender at a particular time. But it would seem like that didn't happen this time around. That's perhaps the reason people are asking questions about the duration. Yeah,
that wasn't done, and it should have been done, as I said. And that is why, in my perception, my view, the CBN governor, the governor of the Apex Bank should meet with the House and perhaps explain why that wasn't done, because normally that should be the case. And that will not stop some people from not still being reluctant to change their own notes, but at least they were given enough time. Maybe he has a reason for doing that, but absolutely, that's the normal thing to do. You give enough time for people to be aware and get ready and play. Especially those in small-scale businesses that operate cash all the time. Because when we say cashless society or economy, we are saying cashless. It doesn't mean that they will not use cash, So we shouldn't go overboard and appear as if we don't want any cash in the economy. So, but I think the way it is now, in order for proper management of the currency situation, there should be some kind of understanding and agreement so that it does not send wrong signals to those who are watching our economy. As I said earlier, especially at this time when the economy is in its lowest ebb.
Do you want to tell us why this particular currency, the introduction of new currency notes, has become this controversial? Because some people say this is not the first time that we've done it, and it didn't appear to give this much problems at the times that we've done it before.
Well, I don't know, but I believe enough to say that this same president, during the Diabo regime, there was a currency change, and there was a problem there. I think it was about only 2 weeks or so. There was even fatality. People died trying to change their currency. So we should have learned from that experience, perhaps. I think it's just the haphazard way we do things, one. Secondly, the nature of the economy. The economy is not as modern as we think. The informal sector contributes almost 2/3 to GDP. So once you have informal sector contributing that large to GDP, it means that your economy is not that modern. Okay, we might have a few people, a few elites who feel that the economy is modern, but in real terms, the economy is still not that modern. So you need to, for a long period, raise awareness, consciousness, a lot of advertisement all over the place, different languages, and so on and so forth. That, in my view, was not done thoroughly, and that's why we're having this problem. But for the CBN, the direction, because they have to have control of monetary policy. They have to have control of how much currency is in circulation. The CBN governor, you showed the speech, and it made it very clear. Almost 85% of the currency in the system is out of the banking system, and that's not good for the economy. So that's fine. Just the implementation that's becoming, in my view, becoming a problem. And I suspect perhaps also the deadline cannot be extended too close to the election. That's my suspicion, you know. But I thought we would have learned from.
Interesting that you talked about how, you know, some almost 40 years ago, when this, when the current president was head of state, this kind of thing also happened then. But I was talking about something a little more recent, because the CBN governor made reference to the fact that we haven't changed currency in the last 8 years. 8 years ago, when we changed currency, we didn't have this problem. Why do we have it now? And do you think, because even though the CBN has tried to deny or has said, no, there's nothing political about this, does appear now that they're up in arms with members of the House of Reps. Can we really dismiss politics from what is happening?
Well, this era is politics throughout. So if we want to dismiss politics, and that is why I said earlier, he needs to go to the House and sit with them and have a discussion, closed door. You are right, a few years ago when we changed the currency, it was a different, I think there was kind of, yeah, you are right, I think that was the time of Charles Chuma Soludo. So you cannot, the period is politically tense. And so you cannot rule out politics, but that's why I said it needs to go and discuss and clear the air for whatever it is worth. Definitely, there are issues about implementation. But as I said, it's not the wrong policy. You do it to put in more security features in the new currency. As you're even aware, even this new one, we are told that people have already started counterfeiting. You know, so it's a very controversial issue, and I think we can reach an understanding by the central bank, the Apex Bank, in my view, meeting the House, because the House represents the people, and have discussion and sort out this matter. But at least for now, they've listened to some of the cries of the people by giving an extension for 10 days. After the grace period, the return to the CBN will be via the commercial banks. You know, so that is the time with ourselves.
How worried were you? Because, you know, it does appear that we've seen quite a number of, I don't want to call them flip-flops, but just on Monday last week, after the CBN, was it Monday or Tuesday, when the CBN held a Monetary Policy Committee meeting, the CBN governor reiterated that there was no going back on the deadline that they had given for the, you know, for the use of the old currency. But just by yesterday, you know, there was an extension given. I don't know, how worried were you when you saw queues of Nigerians trying to get a hold of the new currency, and the concerns that a number of other Nigerians, especially in rural areas, had with being able to exchange what it was that they had in their homes or in their possession?
Extremely worried. Extremely worried, because without the Nigerian people, the central bank would not exist. So I was extremely worried, and that is the major concern, the unbanked population. So let me just say, even personally, I had an experience. I went to my bank here and I couldn't get the new currency. You know, they refer us to another branch. We went there, it was like a market. So let's hope that we'll see what happens after the 17 days. For me, you know, he said no going back, but he has retracted based on pressure, perhaps, and let's see what happens. But definitely, he cannot put back the same amount of cash. He cannot put back the same amount of new notes to match the old notes. Otherwise, he will lose control of monetary policy. The idea is to mop some money. So that will be part of the problem also. And then also, the Apex banks should supervise the commercial banks. They supervise them, not just saying that we will inspect their votes. They should send people there to check whether this is happening, you know, because the hardship. Yes. Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so sorry to jump in. Just before you make that point, one wonders, this policy affects all Nigerians. So why did you say if he goes to the house, it should be closed door? Why not open where everybody can know what's going on?
Well, you see, when it comes to issues of central banking and banking issues, you first have a closed door, then you go to the public, because there are issues that will be discussed that might scare both domestic and foreign investors. So you first do a closed door, then you come out to the public, even within the house. That's what I'm saying. We don't know how did I put it? We don't have all the facts that may create problems in the economy. So a closed door will be better first, and then they can come out to the main house and discuss it. That's the point I was making. Okay.
So the other point where you say that there are several, over 80% or so, who are not in the banking sector or something like that, if I heard you correctly, and that they need to come in. What would you then say to those who think, look, they feel that they're trying to compel them to come into that system, whereas the system, they don't see any reason why they should. So if the people are resisting or don't agree with that policy, doesn't make their jobs any more difficult, or shouldn't they address those concerns before asking them or trying to give them the impression that, well, we're not forcing you to come in, but you need to come in to improve the system?
Fine, but the problem is that why should 80 to 85% of cash not be in the banking system, and yet it's being used? That's the problem. So that's an element of corruption, so that is what the central bank is trying to, in my view, indirectly trying to address. Why do you keep millions of naira in your vault in your house? That's the issue. Put it in the banking system, so because if you do that,
Prof, if someone were to say that,
they cannot track,
that there are laws and there are agencies that are there to ensure that laws are not violated. So if they're saying, well, people are keeping this and this, doesn't it sound a little... It doesn't add up when you say, well, people are keeping this. So if you know where they're keeping them, why don't you just go there and then do what you have to do? Because now they feel that this policy is targeted at a few people. And then some are even saying that it will affect operations for the 2023 general elections.
You see, you don't know where they are keeping the money. But if you put in the banking system, you can track it. Because there's a rule that if you put more than maybe 5 million, the bank has the right to alert the corrupt agencies. And that's perhaps why people, if you put the money in the system, they can trace the source. And that will help, in my view, fight corruption to some extent. And then, as you said, people also have used this money, the money they have, perhaps to go to the forex market and buy dollars and hold for options. And so the CBN is to have a handle, some kind of control, so they can have an effective money policy. Whether it will work or not is another matter. Okay, So why keep millions and billions in the house when we have banks? So there's a reason why people do that. You can keep 10,000, 20, but why 1 million? Why 1 billion in the house? So now take the money to the bank so the central bank can know the currency, the amount of currency in circulation, which will help monetary policy and perhaps help inflation and help all of us.
Well, Prof, there's so many things, so many backstory to some of these matters, which unfortunately we won't have enough time to focus on, because when they say the governor of Kano was talking about how many local governments, over 10, 15, 20, don't have banks. And this has been on for years. So question is, why is that the case? Didn't the authorities know that this is the case? Why do we have to? Because you would have thought at some point it would have been necessary to ensure that these kind of scenarios don't happen. But Prof, now not many people are even talking about this policy in terms of how it will improve the value of the currency. Now the whole conversation about, is it witch hunting people? So does that not defeat the purpose for which this is coming through in the first place?
We purpose in terms of which purpose? Fighting inflation or corruption or monetary policy handle or what? we will not know until the exercise is over and begin to see the outcome. Okay, we can't do an ex ante. We have to look at what happens after the exercise is over. The only thing I said was that I'm not sure, from my little experience and the work I've done, that it will have any much impact on inflation. Okay, because our inflation is not a demand issue. Okay, but the other objectives of this policy we will see. We will see after the exercise is over. We'll do an analysis.
All right, Professor Ekpo, we do thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
All right, we will be back in just a moment. Join us again.